Hey guys, it's Sam, and today I have a really large book outlet unboxing slash haul for you. These two boxes are what I have from Book Outlet. One is from Black Friday, actually, and one is from their most recent Boxing Day sale. The Black Friday one is opened because I've had it for a while and I wanted to look at them, but I just got the Boxing Day one. So you get to experience the unboxing with me. So the first book is the only book that I actually didn't get from Book Outlet. I magically found this at my local library's book sale, and that is The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. I have been looking around for this book for a long time now, and I'm really excited that I finally picked it up. It is an adult novel, and it is about a man and his wife who are keepers of this lighthouse, and they can't have a baby or anything, and one day a dead man and a baby pop up on a boat on their little, like, lighthouse island. And things kind of go a little crazy from there as to, like, what are they gonna do, and are they gonna keep this baby or not, and everything else. I've heard really good things about it. Joe from Joe Reads Books read this fairly recently, I think like last month or the month before. I will link her review down below for you to check out if you're interested. But I saw this for $2, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need to get that. So this is fairly short too, so I'm hoping to get to this sooner rather than later. So as far as the Book Outlet books, the first book I picked up was Defiance by CJ Redwine. I actually picked this up a while ago from Abe Books, but it came kind of damaged, so I'm adding that to my unhaul pile, and I'm actually going to be keeping this one because I prefer paperbacks anyway. And this is a story about a girl who lives in, it's not really a dystopian society, I don't think. I think it's more like a fantasy-ish society, but basically she lives in a world where the men are the protectors of the women, and they live in this kind of like wasteland area. Her father goes missing, and she wants to go after him. And she is actually joined by a boy that she either used to have a crush on or used to date at some point, and they kind of run off and try to find out what happened to her father, and they're being chased by like assassins and apparently like a monster that can't die in this wasteland. So it sounds a little crazy. Like I said, I don't know if it's dystopian or fantasy or kind of both, but we will see how I feel about this. And this is actually the first book in a trilogy. I then picked up Of Neptune by Anna Banks. This is the third book in the Serena Legacy trilogy. I love this series. I think it's really fun and fast-paced and just interesting, and it has its own unique mermaid lore within it. So I think they're really fun. I'm actually going to be buddy reading this with Felicia from Little Prairie Library. I will link her channel down below for you to go check out. I then picked up Sweet Venom by Tera Lynn Childs. This is about a group of triplets who actually were separated at birth and don't know each other, but they are descendants of Medusa, and they are monster hunters. So it sounds like a very kind of cool Greek retelling premise. I mentioned before that I really like Medusa as a character, and I don't see a lot of kind of like retellings and stuff like that about Medusa. So these are descendants of Medusa. I think it's the closest that I'm going to get, and it just sounds like a more like fun, light, kind of maybe funny trilogy. And Medusa, I'm gonna check it out, you know? I then picked up Everbound by Brodi Ashton, staying on that kind of Greek mythology retelling kick. This is the second book in the Everneath trilogy, and it is a Hades Persephone retelling. So I'm just continuing to buy all the books. The last book is still on a hardcover, so I'm not sure if I'm going to start the series until I get the last book so I can just marathon through them. They're fairly short. But I'm looking forward to this because you know how I love me some Hades and Persephone. The next book I picked up was Jonathon Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This I was putting off buying because it's huge and yeah, very daunting, but I just ultimately had to pick it up. This is a historical fiction fantasy set around the Napoleonic Wars, so I think 1806 is when it fully starts, and is about two magic users who end up teaming up and becoming friends, but one of them starts over time to kind of be drawn to more perilous and dangerous magic, and it kind of puts everything into kind of chaos, and yeah, it's definitely an epic. And I heard that there's a lot of history in here, and it does read sometimes like a bit of a history book, but I tend to like history, so hopefully it won't be too bad. I don't know when I'm actually going to attempt to do this because it's long. Like, I'm nervous, I'm not gonna lie. But it's a beautiful book, and I've also heard that it's good for fans of the Night Circus, and you guys know how I love the Night Circus. Apparently it has a very similar, like, atmospheric feel to it. So when I'm feeling something like that again, I will try it. I will definitely try it. I'm not promising it's even going to happen this year, but hopefully someday. These next two books are both Lindsay's Fault from Lindsay Ray. I will link her channel down below. She has been on a definite John Scalzi kick, and she's been talking about John Scalzi, and I've been really trying to get into science fiction, and John Scalzi is a science fiction writer. He's really well known. I think he's won a bunch of awards and stuff too, so there was a couple John Scalzi books that popped up on Book Outlet, and I had to try them out. The first is Redshirts by John Scalzi. This is kind of a parody on Star Trek a little bit. I actually have never seen Star Trek, the movies, or the TV show I might have seen like maybe 2 episodes. Like I'm not really familiar. Like I know some of the stuff from just like pop culture, whatever, but I'm not really a huge like fan or anything. But apparently someone did kind of like a study or was checking everything out, and when people go on away missions and they're wearing a red shirt, they're like 10 times more likely to die or something. So it's kind of a take on that and like away missions and that kind of thing within Star Trek. Lindsay said that you don't need to be a fan of Star Trek to understand this, that she hasn't seen a ton of Star Trek either. So it still has value even if you aren't a Star Trek fan, and it's fairly short. So I thought I would check it out. It sounds like it's going to be really fun. The first book that I'll most likely end up reading by John Scalzi is The Old Man's War, and this is a series of sci-fi novels, and this takes place in the future where an intergalactic war is happening, but as far as Earth, nobody is allowed to join the military unless they are 75 and above. I'm assuming because we start to like not value old age and they're kind of more expendable. So our main character turns 75, goes to visit his wife's grave, and then enlists in the military. And apparently it's a really epic, really awesome series. Again, they're short, so they're not like super daunting, and I think it'll be a good way for me to kind of step into adult sci-fi, and I'm really looking forward to it. Lindsay, like I said, has gushed about John Scalzi, and I really, really trust her opinion. Again, if you haven't checked her out, go do so. I completely trust everything she says, and I'm really looking forward to this series. The next book I picked up was Born of Illusion by Teri Brown, and this just sounded like a really interesting premise. It's kind of historical fiction fantasy, and apparently the main protagonist in this is rumored to be the illegitimate daughter of Harry Houdini. She is helping her mother, who is a medium in 1920s New York, and her mom is a fake medium. She's just kind of using that to make money and stuff like that. It's kind of a fraud. Our main character also ends up being a very gifted illusionist, but she also has like psychic abilities, and so this kind of spirals out of control. She starts seeing visions of her mother in danger and starts kind of like trying to figure everything out. It also looks like there's some romance sprinkled in here, so it looks like it's going to be a fun ride. The next book that I picked up was My Real Children by Jo Walton, and you might recognize Jo Walton as the woman that wrote Among Others, which has been really talked about a lot this year. I think she won a couple awards for it this year, but she is really good with magical realism. So this is about a woman who is fairly old, and she is in the hospital for dementia, but she doesn't actually have dementia, or she might not have dementia. She actually remembers 2 different lives with 2 very different outcomes, almost like she lived 2 parallel lives at the exact same time. So she remembers a time that she married her husband Mark, and they had 4 children, but she also remembers marrying a man named B and having 3 children. She remembers that JFK died in a bombing, and then she remembers that he ran again for president after causing like a nuclear fallout because of the whole Cuban Missile Crisis. Like, she remembers all these things, and they're both very different from our actual modern world. So it sounds very interesting. A lot of people have been talking about Jo Walton's writing lately, so I really wanted to check this one out. And the last book that I picked up during Black Friday was Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. I have had this on my TBR forever because of Misty of the Book Rat. I will link her channel down below. I talk about her a lot, guys. But she has talked about this for years. This book has been out for a long time now, and the sequel is finally coming out this year, apparently. So I was like, now is the time to finally pick this up. It is a fantasy novel about a world where dragons exist and they can actually take on human form, and there is like a war going on between dragons and humans because when is there not? So it sounds really interesting, and I've heard tons of really good things about this series, so I definitely want to check it out before the sequel comes out this year. Alright, now we are going to get to the actual unboxing part for the Boxing Day order. And this is actually probably the last time I'm going to order from Book Outlet for a while. I think I've bought out their entire stock of what I want until they undoubtedly end up stocking more books, and I just kind of renege on that whole statement. But I'm really hoping to kind of cool it for a while. I already need a new bookshelf, so yeah, I should probably stop. And I really do want to focus on reading the books that I already own, but Book Outlet is my weakness, and they always have sales, so I can't help it, okay? Alright. So the first book that I picked up was the bind-up of Luck's Beginnings. This is Obsidian and Onyx from Jennifer L. Armentrout. I already own the very last book. I think it's called Opposition. Yes, Opposition, because I had it signed when I saw her at a book festival over the summer, but I hadn't read the rest of them. So I saw this, and I knew I had to get it. Actually, the second bind-up sold out before I was able to pick that one up too, but I'd love to pick that one up as well. I'm finally excited to get to these. I've just heard a lot about Jennifer L. Armentrout and have never had a chance to read anything by her, so now I am. For those of you that don't know, this is supposed to be a really fun, fast-paced, paranormal romance between a human girl and an alien that moves next door that's apparently hot and also a douchebag, so I'll probably love him. We shall see. I actually went on kind of a contemporary kick during this Boxing Day sale because they had a lot of contemporary books that I have heard a ton about and have been highly recommended to me multiple times, so I stocked up. The first is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, and I have been recommended Morgan Matson by numerous people. Shannon from Leaning Lights has told me to read her like 6 times, and a few other people. I just can't even keep track of all of you that have said read Morgan Matson, because I always complain about not liking contemporary. So apparently Morgan Matson is a queen, and I should really pick her up. I have Amy and Roger's Epic Detour on my shelf, and I'm waiting for summer. I'll probably wait for closer to spring for this as well, because apparently she writes like really summery reads, but if I'm really feeling a contemporary, I might pick this up first. Apparently this is a standalone contemporary novel about a girl whose best friend takes off unexpectedly and leaves her a list of things to do, kind of like dares to do, and kind of get her out of her shell. I believe over the summer, but it might be over the school year. I'm not completely sure, but I'm really interested to finally read some Morgan Matson. Which is why I also picked up Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. This is another kind of summery read. Apparently it's about a girl whose father has been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and so she has one last summer with her parents, and they decide to go back to their lake house in the Poconos that they used to go to when she was a child. And it sounds really cute, like she meets up with like a childhood crush that she hasn't seen in years, and it just sounds like it's gonna be cute and kind of sad. And yeah, so hopefully I really enjoy Morgan Matson, because now I own 3 books by her, but I have heard nothing but good things about her. I am not worried at all. I think I'm really going to enjoy these. The next contemporary that I picked up was To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han, and this is another book that I have heard a ton about and everybody just raves about. This is actually going to be a duology, which is cool because I prefer duologies to trilogies. This is about a girl who apparently writes love letters to every single boy that she's loved before, a total of 5. And one day, the letters get sent out mysteriously. So then she kind of has to like confront these feelings that she has for these people and kind of track these people down, and I'm sure craziness ensues. So I'm really looking forward to this. I've heard it's super cute, and yeah, the cover is really nice in person. Like, people always talk about how the cover looks really cool and that this like writing looks like a permanent marker, and it really does. So I really enjoy this cover. I know it's like a dumb reason to get a book. I mean, who am I kidding? That's what we all do, honestly, on BookTube. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Again, more summery reads. I might pick them up even sooner because I just get really sick of winter really quickly. Like, I'm already kind of sick of winter, and it hasn't even really started yet. Like, it hasn't even snowed here where I live, so I should really like not be talking about that. But when I want to kind of push it out of my life, might be picking this one up as well as the other ones I picked up. The last contemporary I picked up was Magnolia by Kristi Cook, and this just sounded kind of cute. It is about a pair of teenagers who are from Mississippi, and both of their families are kind of like Southern royalty, like what you picture of like Southern belles, and just, yeah. And they've been friends, the 2 families, for like centuries, and they really just want their families to be reunited in a marriage. So they always talk about how their 2 kids should get married, but they kind of hate each other, and they are very polar opposites. But of course, one day there is a really crazy Mississippi storm, and it kind of pushes them together, and like cuteness ensues. So I think this will just be like a light, fluffy read. I really enjoy Heart of Dixie on the CW. I've been watching it on Netflix like for the past year slowly, and it kind of reminds me of that. So I'm kind of just doing that to like prolong my Heart of Dixie fix, but it sounds really cute. Again, a summer read. We'll see how I feel. Do you guys even recognize me with all the contemporary that I picked up? Because I barely recognize myself. So to offset all of that, I picked up Unite Me by Tera Mafi. This is the bind-up of the 2 novellas from the Shatter Me series. Yes, I already own Destroy Me on Kindle. No, I don't care. So now I have it in physical copy, and I'm really excited. So it has Destroy Me and Fracture Me. I haven't read Fracture Me. I might now. I don't really know. I don't really care about the perspective of the character that is told from. But now I have this, so my entire Shatter Me series is officially completed. And the last book that I picked up is actually a graphic novel, and it is Delilah, Dirk, and the Turkish Lieutenant by Toni Cliff. And I think this might even be a middle grade story, but I like the art on it. It looks a little steampunky, and it kind of reminds me of like steampunky Kim Possible, where like you have like a kick butt lady and she drags like the socially awkward guy along with her. So you'll see how I feel about this. I've wanted to get into more graphic novels lately, and I haven't heard a ton about this one, but it looks super fun. Alright guys, that is it for my book outlet hauls. Comment down below and let me know some of the books that you picked up from the recent book hauls at Book Outlet. I would love to know what deals you guys got. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys soon. Bye!